Okay, Vaughn, I am going to attempt to show you binding. Unfortunately, this is what I'm binding tonight, which it's a little mug rug. You can't even tell. I'm trying to do it. It's very difficult when you can't hold the camera and I have to get it in a position. So basically, if you have a mini quilt, a quilt, something like that, where you have like plenty of, like let's say it's 12 to 15 inches, the side, then that's awesome because, and what you want to do is you want to keep as much distance as you can not attached to whatever you're sewing, to your item, because the further apart everything is, the easier it is to do this. Unfortunately, this is, let me see, the side is, oh jeez, I can't. The side is like roughly 5 inches, which is hella small. But I'm going to show you anyway, and hopefully I can do it without having too much cussing. So I obviously made way too much binding, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, it really doesn't matter as long as I just cut this piece just so it's not, you know, don't have a whole ton of it. And what I'm going to want to do is now I'm going to prepare them to combine. Now, here's how you know what to do. I always bind with my strip to start with before I fold it over is 2.5 inches. I always do 2.5 inches. I think it looks better. The only way I would go smaller is if I was told to go smaller. And I definitely wouldn't go bigger unless I'm trying to, gosh, I don't know. I mean, maybe if you're putting batting in here to like make it thick and, you know, like soft for like a baby's blanket or something, maybe. But anyways, so here's what you do. You're going to start from over here and you're going to leave this part down, and obviously it's not going to go all the way to over there, so I'm going to just cut that end off just so that it can lay flat. That's all it needs to do, is just make sure it can lay flat. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to fold it over, and because my entire width before I ironed it over was 2.5, then I want them to have 2.5 inches overlapping. So I have this little 2.5 inch ruler, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the one end over here where I can see it sticking up. Now you probably can't because the two dark colors are matching, but you just basically stick it right on the end there, and then you know that right there is where you want to cut. And so what I'm gonna do is, let me see. See, it's dark, so that's never ideal. That's why I hate dark colors. I hate black. I hate all, because you can't see anything. But normally I will try to mark it. If it's white or something, you can use whatever. And I can see that. So you see where the line is? You basically just want to cut right there. And you just got to trust yourself. I mean, because it's going to be right. Okay? All right. Now, once you have that done, to me, this is the hard part. Only with this size because it's so small. So, I'm going to take my clips. And I just use as many as I want. I'm going to take these apart, and I want to take this, and I'm going to just get those two sides as close together as possible. And I don't want it to really get in the way, so I'll kind of like fold it down a little bit, just like that. And it's not going to be pinned for very long, so it's not going to, you know, I mean, as soon as you're done, you're going to be unpinning, so it's no biggie. It's not going to stay that way. Okay, so that way, when that's as close together as possible, then you have plenty of, you know, this to like play around with. The only thing is it's still hella short. I'm sure you can tell because it's, you know, it's going to be a little more, it is going to be more difficult. It's a pain in the butt, but it's going to look great. So that's what you got to tell yourself. So once you're here, you're going to take the tail on the right, you're going to unfold it to where you're looking at the back of it like this and lay it flat on the ground, okay? Or on your table or wherever you're working, okay? And like I said, if you had more space, this would totally be laying flat and you'd have like, it wouldn't be a struggle. But it will be a struggle tonight. Then you're going to take your other tail in your left hand, open it the same way. But what you're going to do is this piece on the back has to touch this over here. So you're going to flip it around and lay it flat. Okay? And this is going to be really, really difficult, like I've said. So just prepare yourself for that. What you'll want to do is you're going to get it as close as you can there. And when it's tight like this, you have to pin. So now I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to put it right here so that it doesn't move, right? And I'm going to put like a couple of pins because I really don't want it to move. And this is how I feel I can ensure if I just put a few more pins, because you could take them out right whenever you're sewing. It's just while you're drawing your lines here, you need to keep it as stable as possible. Okay? So it looks like overkill, but I'd rather overkill than have it all screwed up. Okay. So now, as you know, this is the end that we're going to cut off after we sew together. So we need to draw a line going across here from point to point. And it's going to be difficult. So I'm going to try to work on it. And just bear with me. Because normally, as I said, you would have plenty of room. But for right on this one, I'm not going to have plenty of room. I'm going to barely have any room at all. So, let me just get that. I'm sorry. I'm not paying attention to that. So I may be all over the place, but just bear with me because I need to try to pin this as best I can. Okay. I'm trying to get on this side. I have to say that the one thing that quilting has done is help me to be just a tad bit more patient. And I just want to stress the tad bit part because I'm still pretty impatient. Okay. Now because this is so tight, I mean, it's going to be very difficult to sew. It's very difficult to mark, you know, everything. So don't look at the way this is because I'm telling you, if you have more room like you have on your bag, it's not going to be this hard. So what I would normally do in a perfect world is I would be just laying it out, putting my ruler down, and then marking it from corner to corner. I'm telling you right now that I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but every time I do it, it always seems to work out. And so I just keep telling myself that every time. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to turn it upside down like this. So then I'm not trying to stretch it over there. And let me see if I can get it sort of like that. And also if you're not having to wing it like this, you can be much more sure about where and listen, it doesn't actually have to be laying flat right now because all you have to do is get the line from corner to corner on the top. And then once you're at the machine, you can just, manipulate it as you go, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me see. If I do this, if I could get that, my baseline, and listen, I can't ever think until I'm actually doing it, so bear with me again. Let me move my iron down. Move that down. Trying to do it so that you can see everything. I am going to try to take that white line right there. It's a 45 degree. I'm going to get it on the angle there. Get it right where it needs to be. Yep, that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to start marking this line on this side. Okay. I hope you can see that. All right, and then I'll move it so that I have this side. And I can see exactly where that line is over there, but now it's going to be on the other side. So here's my 45. And I'm going to put it down as best I can on here. Okay. Yep. Just want to make sure I'm seeing that properly. May have to sort of put, and it's going to line up with the other one. Should line up. See? It's pretty much going to be there. So I'm just going to finish that line and get it down a little bit. That'll help. And I mark everything now. I remember when I first started quilting, I thought that it meant I was a better quilter if I didn't ever mark and I didn't pin. But that's not the truth. So let me go and sew this and I'll come right back, okay? Okay, so I'm back. And now here's where you start praying, especially when you're working on one this small. So I did get it stitched across, and when it's like this, and actually at any time, I don't like measure. I mean, obviously you'd want it to be about a 1/4 inch from the side, and it is off a little bit, which I did notice. So you know, if my seam is a little bit off, I'm just gonna have to, you know, accept it and move on. Now there is a seam in here, so I'm going to, you know, just kind of go across there. Just gonna eyeball about a 1/4 inch, and that's it. And here's all, of course, where you really want to start praying, because now you're gonna take it out, and okay, there it is. See? It's gonna lay exactly where it's supposed to lay, and it's perfect. Now all I have to do is just sort of finger press this in a little bit, and then I'm gonna go back to the machine and just stitch across here, and then flip around and do my and finish off my my border, binding, whatever. Ugh, it's been a long day. So anyways, I hope that helped, and I hope you could see exactly where I was putting everything, exactly how I was putting things down. And that's, I mean, sometimes you'll do it, it'll be a little loose. Believe me, you'd much rather that than for it to be too tight. Okay, so if you're erring on the side of anything, it should be cutting your this just a tad too long. I mean, you don't want it to be too short, because then if it's too tight, then you're like, you know, your binding is all, right? Where if it's looser, you could just kind of, you know, fudge it a little bit whenever you're hooking it together, sewing it down. But anyways, I don't like where this seam ended up. I could tell you that. I don't know if you could see that. Anyways, it ended up right. That's not ideal, but it happened. So anyway, there you have it. I hope this helps. Okay, bye.